And before we get to Lawrence, let's get to the big three.
Number 3.
The last time Washington did a reconciliation bill, that was 3 summers ago, that was so-called Inflation Reduction Act. This new big, beautiful bill is moving entirely in another direction. It's going to end up with the government spending less.
Yep, that is James Freeman of the Wall Street Journal. The big, beautiful bill continues to dominate all conversations in D.C. We look at the journey to ratification that Musk made harder. Meanwhile, the trade team is in London to hammer out a deal with China.
Number 2.
Instead of conjuring up a new Joe Rogan, ask yourself why you lost the old one. Because he used to be on your side. They tried real hard to cancel Rogan a few years ago. You think people don't remember when you do this to them?
Bill Maher, again, 100% correct. Dems go middle. More and more presidential hopefuls on the left decide the future of America for their party is center left rather than way left, and the move is not subtle. Yet their leaders move to tears because the DNC chair says everyone's ignoring him. I'm not kidding.
Number 1.
What we're seeing in LA is chaos caused by the administration. People should exercise their right to protest. That's their First Amendment right. People should also exercise that right peacefully.
But they're not. That's the problem, Mayor Bass. Trump takes over. With Los Angeles out of control, the president calls up the National Guard without the permission of the governor. And we're in the middle of 4 days of clashes over the rounding up of illegals in lawless L.A. The showdown, which is really law versus disorder, left versus what's right. Lawrence, we've been following every step of the way. Mm-hmm. Do you know the L.A. riots 2 days back in 92? Mm-hmm. This is already 4 days and no signs of cease and desist.
Well, you got a standoffish approach from the leaders there. They want control. They keep making all these statements saying, hey, we got it, but they don't have it. And I think the shameful aspect is when you have cops that are on the scene, that are getting attacked, that are surrounded, and they call for other cops to help them, and there's a stand-down order given essentially for them not to show up, that's shameful. And remember, Brian, we're talking about criminals. We're not talking about workers being arrested. We're talking about known criminals that have a deportation order and warrants out for their arrest.
Right. So listen to Alex Villanueva. You might know him because he's the former L.A. County Sheriff. Cut 21.
Had the sheriff and the LAPD chief done their job when they were supposed to and suppress the riot, there would not be any federalized troops. They would be under the control of local law enforcement. But that's not part of this paradigm, this weird bubble that Democratic leadership in California thinks, they can operate under.
So that's just it. The reason why I didn't know this, first time since 1965, the National Guard's been called out without permission of the governor. And the reason why in 65, it was the civil rights, and you had a bunch of the segregationists who did not want to see these schools integrated.
Brian, they don't want to cooperate. And I don't know, what was it, ABC or CBS, the poll that you cited this morning?
CBS.
It was a CBS one. I think it's 54% of the American public are supporting the president when it comes to this because they're focusing on the criminals. Now, if the Democrats want to debate something that's about that second layer, about going to workplaces and all that, that's something where you can work with the administration on, but you got to get on board at least on getting rid of the criminals. Remember, this is the same party that wanted Kilmeade Obrego back, and now he has 2 felony indictments against him right now. So he's going to have to go through the system and all that. They called him a Maryland man, but he was trafficking people, assaulted his wife. These are the same
child pornography.
Child pornography. I mean, can you imagine standing with those type of people? That's why everybody's talking about this Elon Musk controversy, but you can't stand with a party that doesn't believe in common sense like this.
So let's think about this. You brought up a good point. So you find the senators going down and having a margarita with with Kilmeade, right? Goes down there. Mm-hmm. And then they want to go to bat for people like him. He shouldn't have been deported to that country. Well, he's a gang member. Yeah. If you look at the police report, he's absolutely a gang 100%. Member. And they say, well, we're suspected by a judge. No. The judge had a gang expert look at this. Yeah. So that's not true. And then you find out about child trafficking. There's B-roll available of this with sound of a cop pulling him over full of people from Texas en route to Maryland.
And at the time, he pretends that he doesn't know English with the cops. And then the cops called the FBI under Biden to say, hey, look, we got this guy here. They take pictures of everyone that's involved.
And the phone call's recorded.
It's recorded, and they say, hey, just take the pictures and then let them go. So this is a guy that should have been arrested a long time ago. The second part of it, Brian, and I think this is going to come out later in the indictment, is that he's a part of a gang, the gang organization who killed some migrants because they left them in the back of a van and they suffocated to death. So this is not a saint that we're dealing with. The same guys as well that they were trying to arrest in L.A. as well. And they're protesting in the middle of the street with Mexican flags.
So Democrats are defending Kilmeade. Now they don't know what to do because he's such a horrific person. Right. They're trying to get people to say, well, it's just a matter of due process. No. What are you talking about? So now ICE arrests these criminal suspects, these illegal immigrants, and Bill Malugin was able to get some of their backgrounds and their profiles. Essentially, they're the worst of the worst. You got one guy, assault with a deadly weapon with great bodily injury from Mexico. Mm-hmm. Another guy from Mexico, controlled substance assault, deadly weapon. Then you have another guy from Ecuador, cocaine distribution and conspiracy. This other guy from Mexico, sexual battery, received stolen property and theft. And I can go on. This other guy's from Honduras, narcotics distribution, domestic violence. So what the ICE is doing is finding these guys, ripping them out, and the neighborhood's going crazy.
Brian, we wouldn't even be at this point if when they were arrested, the local jurisdictions would have just kept them behind bars and allowed ICE to come pick them up. Now you have the president of Mexico that are encouraging her people in the United States to protest against our country. They burn our flag while they wave their flag.
Right. And so so Democrats, do they want to go actually represent and support the rioters? So now they're saying, well, Trump made it worse by sending the National Guard. What are you talking about?
It was out of control. What was he supposed to do? Let the city burn?
Or it's ICE's fault for using masks. Oh, are you kidding?
The protesters have masks. Have y'all called on them to remove? You said it is peaceful protest. Why do they have masks? Why are they wrapped with keffiyehs? We're not in the Middle East. Brian, I think what's going to happen is once you start getting these people behind bars, you're going to realize, as the chief said, these are the same people on the college campuses, the same people doing the Summer of Love, the same people for Occupy Wall Street. These are the same group. They don't really have an ideology but destroy the United States, anti-West, anti-Donald Trump.
So what they want to do is sue Donald Trump to get the National Guard out. Jonathan Fahey joins Fox and Friends first, former Deputy Assistant DHS Secretary. What about the legal case? Cut 24.
And we've seen this escalating over the past couple of months, where the standard position of the Democratic Party seems to be defame ICE agents, support violence against them. We saw it in Newark. We're seeing it here. And it's really disgraceful when you see the statements come out from Governor Newsom, from other politicians, and they're certainly making it even worse. And President Trump did what he did because he had to, because his responsibility is to keep the American citizens safe as well as the law enforcement agents safe, which the Democrats in California had no interest in doing.
So they're going to have to defend it. They will defend it. Let's hope. But I worry about the whole thing. District judge says pull him out. Next judge says don't. Then we end up in the Supreme Court. Is this going to be one of those escalating things?
I think you're going to need an immediate injunction or ruling from the Supreme Court immediately. We know that since this is happening in California, one of the challenges is probably going to be in a California federal judge. Many of them are on the left. So you can't have this lawfare. You need the Supreme Court to come out immediately. Another thing I think is underreported, Brian, is these are the same protesters that say they're afraid of the cops. They're afraid of law enforcement. Does this look like a group of people that are afraid of the cops? They're throwing bricks at there. It's very well funded, well organized. And when law enforcement finally does respond, and they are going to have to respond, then they're going to be crying that they targeted these people because of the color of their skin, which is nonsense.
All right, when we come back, I want to talk a little politics with Lawrence before you go, and then and because it looks like there's a big movement among Democrats to go to the center. Do you believe it? I'll tell you what. If I was a Democrat right now with political aspirations, you know what I'd be doing? I'd be speaking up in support of law and order, but not one. If you want to go to the middle of the road, somehow you got to do something of consequence instead of giving a speech. Don't move.
And I'll be very honest with you, for the first time in my 100 days on this job, and the other night I said to myself for the first time, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. No one knows who the hell I am, right? I'm trying to get my sea legs underneath of me and actually develop any amount of credibility so I can go out there and raise the money and do the job I need to put ourselves in a position to win. And again, I don't think you intended this, but you essentially destroyed any chance I have to show the leadership that I need to.
So that is Ken Martin. This was obtained by Politico, a phone call with David Hogg. Do you believe this guy? Evidently, in the phone call, he sounds like his voice is breaking up. He's crying. Nobody knows who I am.
And of course, when this came out, David Hogg started releasing text messages because they were accusing him of being the person that leaked it. He shows all the messages from the reporter that he never responded. But I think, the dismantlement and who leaked it is irrelevant. It's a matter of that the party is in disarray. They have no leadership, no identity. It's because they're so crazy. They're allowing the crazies to run the party. Like, it should be very simple. The first story we talked about, Brian, what's happening in L.A., to condemn what's happening. Say, hey, even advocate for a pathway. Okay, I disagree with you, but at least that is something that is considered reasonable. But don't burn down cities.
So here's the thing. Why do you need to be recognized? Right. Just go out there, stop crying.
Right.
Right. And by the way, point out how your deputies are unhinged and just go do your job. So in Playbook over the weekend, I was struck by this. Maryland Governor Wes Moore, who's black, vetoed a bill passed by his Democratic-dominated state legislator that would have took steps towards reparations. Why? Polarized. They saw it was a mess in California. The minute they came out and said, write a check, they go, we don't have any money to write a check. So why do it? And then you have Rahm Emanuel sat down with Dasha Burns for a podcast conversation and said, stop talking about bathrooms and locker rooms and start talking about the classrooms. If one child is trying to figure out their pronouns, okay, but the rest of the class don't know what a pronoun is. Let's not even. So they're saying, get over this whole political correctness.
Yeah, but the
craziness.
party at large, Brian, are not listening to that.
Tim Walz is not.
They are not. The people that have the energy, which is Bernie, AOC, Crockett, they don't subscribe to that viewpoint. And right now, they're the ones that have all the rallies and all the support and all the donor money. So I don't see. Look, I appreciate them saying the obvious that we said like 4 years ago or like the last 8 years, but I don't think it's breaking through.
So, yeah, I think I'm very curious to see where the donor money goes because they don't want to waste it. Mm-hmm. They know Tim Walz has no shot. They know that AOC has no shot. So these people don't get rich by wasting their money. Now, Pritzker still way out there with his pronouns. Tim Walz still way out there. He says we should go reinforce DEI. But they write Bruce Allen Hamilton, the federal contracting giant, pulled out of being a headline sponsor of Worldwide Parade Day in February. Other companies like Deloitte, Comcast, Nissan have declined to support the event this year too. They don't want to be forced into doing the political correct thing. And they never felt comfortable doing it, but they thought they had no choice.
Brian, here's a novel idea. The president has shown that he likes making deals. There has to be a Democrat that's of national prominence that is willing to take a meeting with the president and say, this is the agenda that I agree with. That's a part of your agenda as well, Mr. President. Right. Let me provide a bill that will obtain that type of stuff. I mean, Gretchen Whitmer, to her credit, says, okay, I need this stuff for my state. But it's not national news there. It's just a local issue. You need someone that's willing to be the big boy or gal that's willing to link arms with the president and say, let's get this done.
How about this? What if Governor Whitmer or Wes Moore said the president was given no choice? If you don't crack down on this abhorrent behavior, we're gonna get the National Guard down our throats too. Yeah, that would take guts.
Yeah,
rather than not signing a reparations bill, how about just doing something bold in real time?
See, Wes Moore, he's very Obama-esque in his delivery and all that, but he governs like a radical, a complete radical. If you look at Maryland, he's destroying the state. I think he's brilliant in the sense of his ability to communicate with the public there. He's great with crowds. He has a phenomenal story, but he's destroying the state. Meanwhile, when you got a person like Fetterman that's more closer to the center, they want to destroy the guy.
Right.
So I don't think the Democrats have an appetite for sanity right now.
So I want you to hear what Bill Maher said. Again, sane. Cut 29.
Instead of conjuring up a new Joe Rogan, ask yourself why you lost the old one.
Right.
because he used to be on your side. They tried real hard to cancel Rogan a few years ago. And when Elon hosted Saturday Night Live in 2021, well before he was a Trumper, some of the cast members gave him the cold shoulder for the sin of being rich. You think people don't remember when you do this to them?
It's so true. They have this selective amnesia. They destroy people's lives, and then they invite them to sit at the dinner table. And these people are like, no, of course not. Even with the scandal with the president and Elon Musk, they're all thinking that Elon is going to come back. There's no way he can come back. You guys tried to set his cars on fire. You did set him on fire. It's not like he's going to be able to break bread with you guys. And then you guys do further things that show that you're not serious with talking down. It's the same thing, Brian, when it comes down to the former president's mental acuity. They want us to just move on. Meanwhile, they haven't atoned for all the evil that they did, all the bashing, calling us liars, cheap fakes, and all this other nonsense.
So, I watched every Sunday show. I think there was a half a question on KJP. How could there be a half a question on KJP? Are you kidding me? The press secretary went independent and said the broken White House that you've been defending, that would be a way to sound off on the idiocy that was once the Biden administration.
Our only saving grace, Brian, is no one's watching the networks right now. I mean, we've completely, at Fox, cornered the market. And I think the secret sauce is being ahead of the... Honestly, all of these books, Brian, should be considered plagiarism. I mean, they're reporting on something that was reported on, and they're not giving us credit for it. They're saying, news sources. But we have the original reporting.
It's nuts. It's like they're like, all of a sudden, there might be a problem with the Russian investigation. I think the laptop is real.
Right.
I really believe Joe Biden was fine up until recently.
Right.
Crazy. Well, it's great to see you.
Great.
Hopefully we make this every week.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Tomorrow. See you tomorrow on Fox and Friends, 6 to 9. I think we're going to be live. What are you wearing?
We should be.
What are you wearing? Do you know?
I don't know what I'm wearing.
Something
we really don't
cool?
coordinate.
Something cool?
Something cool. A nice tie.
No, of course, but what if Democrats could be the party that solved that problem?
Yeah, but it's not. If you have a young face with ideas that don't work, that's not going to solve the problem. You have to have both.
Do you think the young faces don't have the right solutions right now?
There's young and old candidates, but there's new and old ideas. I'm looking for the ones that work.
And that is Rahm Emanuel doing a podcast, letting everybody know with 2 ears that he's really considering running for president. Former ambassador to Japan, very below average mayor of Chicago, but an extremely effective, smart politician in person with a well-known name. Joining us now, Michael Whatley, chairman of the RNC. Mike, great to see you. Your thoughts about what Rahm Emanuel is proposing, basically stop with the woke stuff and start governing.
Yeah, the Democrats should listen to him. I hope they don't. But, the fact is right now, the entire Democratic establishment is doubling down on the same failed policies that they lost on in 24. The Democratic Party is all about open borders, inflationary spending, and a weak America. That's not what the American people want, but it is what Jasmine Crockett and AOC and Bernie Sanders and every single leader that the Democratic Party is trying to coalesce around right now, or at least who wants to be the leader of the party. That's what they're doubling down on.
I mean, it's pretty amazing, too, that like Wes Moore is not supporting reparations legislation. Why would that be? Why would Mayor Pete take his pronouns off his profile? Why are people talking about the need to go to the center? But I don't really see. I also thought, if you just heard the last segment, if you really are moderate, this is the time to stand up and go, I back the president on this. We got to stop with the disorders in the cities.
Yeah,
that would show me sincerity. What does Gavin Newsom do?
Gavin Newsom, who said he was going to run to the center, who did a podcast with a bunch of Republicans to kind of show that he can live in the middle. And as soon as we start having riots in California, he doubles down with the rioters. He's doing more to protect illegal aliens in California than he is his own citizens.
So right now, I saw CBS did a poll, 54% of the country support the president's deportation policies. And when asked, are you feeling safer, CBS asked, are you feeling safer because of the president's immigration policies? 42% said yes, 30% said no. How does that read compared to Election Day? Now that the president's actually doing the policies instead of just talking about them.
Yeah, two big issues that President Trump ran on. Number one, obviously, the economy. And number two was illegal immigration. The fact that Joe Biden and the Democrats brought 15, 20 million illegal immigrants into the country. Right now, those immigrants in California, they're getting housing assistance, they're getting food assistance, they're getting free health care, free tuition. I mean, they're being treated better than the constituents of California, the citizens who live in California. And, Mayor, Bass, Governor Newsom, Maxine Waters. I mean, every single one of the Democratic leaders in California is fighting harder for illegal immigrants than they are their own constituents.
So the big, beautiful bill, it means everything to the president. It's going to be a signature legislation. Even if he does other things 3 years from now, it's theorized. People that he has not won over yet, Senator Scott, Rick Scott, and Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, cut 35.
Medicaid. What about Medicare? Puts in for but listen, because this is important. Okay. For every dollar the state puts in for a single adult childless, the government puts in the federal government puts in $9. That has led to all kinds of waste and abuse. There's upcoding inside Medicare, which also is putting at threat the benefits for people that need it. So again, there is all kinds of waste, fraud, and abuse in these programs. That's what Republicans are trying to root out. That's what President Trump is willing to do. Democrats, of course, don't care. They just don't care about spending money and mortgaging our kids' future. This is hard what we're trying to do.
He started that segment off saying, I can't sign on to it yet. And he's totally against the SALT, which is state and local taxes, writing that off. And then Mike Lower hops on CNN and says, I won't even take less. I won't even negotiate on that number. If you're Senator Thune, what's your takeaway on that?
Every Republican supports extending the Trump tax cuts. It means $10,000 for low-income families on an annual basis. Every Republican supports no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and tax relief for seniors on Social Security. These are the essentials of this bill, and it is critical to note, one, every Republican supports those, and we're going to have discussions around the edges of the big, beautiful bill, and we're going to have back and forth. You remember I'm Just a Bill from Saturday morning cartoon shows, Schoolhouse Rock. We're watching that play out in real time. Every single Democrat in the House voted against this bill. Every single Democrat in the Senate has said that they're going to vote against this bill. That no vote is a vote for the biggest tax hike in the history of the country.
So, Michael, what do you say to Mike Lawler? Mike Lawler says, if I don't get SALT, I lose my seat. And New Jersey Republicans, I'm going to lose my seat. What do you say? I know in Florida they have no patience for it. In Texas they have no patience for it. Chip Roy doesn't want to hear it from Mike Lawler. What do you say to them? Number one, are they misstating it? Is Mike Lawler overstating the fact that if he doesn't get a tax deduction for state taxes, he won't win?
This bill is the embodiment of the agenda that President Trump ran on, right? This is about fixing
SALT.
our economy, right? This is about restoring our southern border. This is about making sure that we have American energy unleashed. It's about having a strong military. That is what is in this bill. We're going to have arguments and fights over the contours of what this bill is going to look like, but we know at the end of the day, we're extending the Trump tax cuts, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and a strong border and a strong energy policy.
What concerns you most about the midterms? I mean, the House, obviously, but how many seats legitimately are in contention?
The midterms, it's a tough slog every time, right? The party in power in the White House loses seats in the midterm. We know that. We're swimming upstream against history, but it is all about the agenda. And if we're running on the same agenda that we did in 24, but this time it's promises made, promises kept, and we have an economy that is moving in the right direction, and we have a southern border that's going to be secure, we're going to be in a great place to defy history, right? So the biggest thing for me right now is delivering on the policies that Donald Trump ran on and won on, because those are the policies that gave us Republican majorities in the House and the Senate.
I mean, you definitely have opportunities in Georgia. You definitely have opportunity in New Hampshire and Maine, with Senator Susan Collins has been the stalwart. Without her, you would argue it's tough for a Republican to win. But you don't have those big name candidates yet. How much pressure is on you to find the potential talent as opposed to the established talent.
Yeah, we're talking to a lot of people around the country about these races. We have a great pickup opportunity in Michigan. We have a great pickup opportunity in Georgia. We've got a tough hold in Kentucky, a tough hold in North Carolina, a tough hold in Maine. But we're going to make sure that we have candidates who are running on the right agenda. They have the resources that they need. You flip over to the House side right now, there are 13 districts that Donald Trump carried where a Democrat sits in that seat. Those are opportunities that we're going to be focusing on all day, every day to try and make sure that we flip those seats. And we do have some vulnerable Republicans, but we're going to be there for them.
How concerned are you that you don't have Elon Musk's money right now?
I'm not concerned about that. The fact is that Elon made some great contributions, to the campaign last year in helping get the Doge program set up. But we have one president, and he is setting the agenda right now for America. And when we run on that agenda, we will win on that agenda.
Was there any hesitation when President Trump asked you to stay on?
No, not at all. Fact is that we need to win these midterms in order to have a 4-year presidency, not a 2-year presidency where he's fighting Congress the way that we did coming out of the 2018 election cycle. I believe in this man, and I believe in this agenda.
And Mike Whatley, you actually mirror his energy level, so that's what I know he likes about you, and he's very much in charge, right?
Amen.
Absolutely. Mike Whatley, thanks so much.
The reporter asked me, well, could Governor Newsom or Mayor Bass be arrested? I said, well, no one's above the law. If they cross the line and commit a crime, absolutely they can. So there was no discussion about arresting Newsom. And so, what he's done, he's failed that state. He waited 2 days of that city burning and people getting hurt, officers being assaulted before he made any declaration of an unlawful assembly. He's late to the game. President Trump isn't late to the game. Men and women, our vice are not late to the game.
So that is Tom Homan saying that if the governor and mayor got in the way, they'll be arrested. And now they go, oh, come arrest me. Governor Newsom goes, oh, come arrest me, this tough guy. It's unbelievable. Once again, he is MIA in the middle of a moment. He's sitting there in some control center instead of out there seeing what's happening in Los Angeles. Why? He doesn't want to get into the unrest. He doesn't want to get his hands dirty doing anything. Remember when those fires burned Pacific Palisades? He's walking around going, yeah, let's get to the bottom of this. I heard there was no water. You heard there's no water. It's your state, you idiot. And by the way, 2 inept leaders. The American people are going to make a decision. Do you want this in Chicago? Do you want more of this in New York? And do you see what's happened in Los Angeles? And one of the people that wants them to go Republican for the first time in generations is Steve Hilton. He's a Republican California gubernatorial candidate, serves as director of strategy, obviously, for the British Prime Minister David Cameron, has been a successful contributor here at Fox News for years and host. Steve Hilton joins us now. Steve, where are you at this moment?
So I'm heading to LA. I will be right there. I'm going to see for myself what is going on because we cannot accept this. We cannot accept this kind of chaos. And exactly as you say, it's just like with the fires. There's a 2-part story here. It's always the same with these guys. First of all, their extreme policies cause a problem. With the fires, it's their extreme environmental policies. With this, it's their extreme sanctuary policies, the sanctuary state policy, the sanctuary city policy. That's what caused this problem because it meant that they didn't cooperate with ICE. The lack of cooperation is why you have operations like this to enforce federal law and to enforce the mandate that President Trump was given by the American people. That's step 1, right? The extreme policies create a problem. And then step 2, they're so useless that they can't cope with the problem. So when the fires broke out and got out of hand, they didn't know what they were doing and it raged for days and weeks. Just as in this situation, once you saw the first sign of protests that were going to be whipped up by outside agitators, you could see that from the minute they got going. Instead of clamping down and enforcing order, they just let it blow up out of control. Right. And now you have the situation that you do.
Now, how sick is this? The police chief weighed in on ICE. ICE arresting illegal immigrants, not happy about it in Los Angeles, which is full of illegal immigrants, many criminals. Most of these were criminals that were out and about for no apparent reason. Listen to the police chief yesterday, cut 13.
I also want to be unequivocally clear. The Los Angeles Police Department does not participate in or coordinate with Immigration and Customs Enforcement on civil immigration enforcement. We've said this over and over again, and I can't stress it enough for the people in our community who have high levels of anxiety about this issue, that we want everybody to believe and be able to call the LAPD in time of need if they've been a victim of a crime or a witness to a crime.
So you believe this?
We need that.
He wants everybody to know they're not cooperating with ICE. Fundamentally, I would never be able to say those words if I wore a uniform.
I'm sick of hearing this, right? This is a pattern now with all of them. From the top down, from Newsom, from the mayor, from the police chief, from the sheriffs in other counties, all of them put out these grandstanding, virtue signaling statements. Oh, we care about our community and we're not going to cooperate with ICE. All of them are doing it in California. It is an absolute disgrace. Why? Because the exact people that are most fed up with this lawlessness on immigration and the open border are actually immigrant communities, legal immigrant communities. I've spent time with them. Like the first week of my campaign, I was there in East Los Angeles with the Latino community. I asked them, what is the problem? What are they fed up about? What they want to change? They said, these illegal immigrants who are coming into our communities, they're not working, they're causing mayhem, they're doing illegal street vendors that are affecting local businesses, they're getting welfare, free cell phones, they go into the grocery store, they see these people. Yes, they're furious about it. So it's a complete lie to say that the community or Latino communities are not supportive of what ICE is doing. That is just a lie. The activists are, the far left activists, by the way, some of whom who are organizing these riots are actually funded by California taxpayers, if you can believe that. One of the organizations at the heart of this gets taxpayer money from California state government. So the activists constantly go on about ICE, but real people, regular people, legal immigrants, law-abiding members of the Latino community are fully in support of this.
The name of the group that people are accusing of collaborating with this also gets part funding from China. I think we're talking about the same group, the Coalition for Human Immigration Rights. They received tens of millions of dollars in government grants during the Biden administration, but mostly from the state of California.
Yes.
So right there, what are you doing? And they had a major event on Thursday, and they're part of this. That's why they know how to break up cinder blocks into little rocks and hand them out. That's how they know how to shut down the 101 freeway. They're coordinating this.
Exactly. I mean, this is, the deep point here, Brian, and I say over and over again on so many issues, is that what you've got now in California with these far left extremists, these ideologues who've been in charge, one party rule for 15 years, it's a situation where everyone who does the right thing in California, that's the majority, feel like they're being punished every single day. But the people who do the wrong thing are being incentivized and rewarded and encouraged. It's totally upside down. That's why we've got to have change. We can't go on like this.
Right. So it's amazing, too, how they're saying that Trump. So are you in support of President Trump being in the National Guard?
What else? They clearly, yes, they can't.
So listen to the mayor. You would have done that, too.
If I was the governor, first of all, we wouldn't be in this situation because you wouldn't have this total stonewalling and lack of cooperation with ICE. But secondly, if your main city of your state is exploding, and you know where this leads because we've seen it before, you want to clamp down on it right from the outset. So when you have a police chief that's clearly not doing the job in the right way, so local law enforcement isn't doing their job, it would be my responsibility as the governor for me to call in the National Guard, let alone President Trump. We've got to have law and order.
So the LAPD was not called in. Here is the ICE was being overwhelmed. The LAPD took 35 minutes to mount any type of help, which is unacceptable in the law enforcement community, let alone the citizens. But Governor Gavin Newsom says, I know exactly who to blame. Cut 7.
Donald Trump has created the conditions you see on your TV tonight. He's exacerbated the conditions. He's, lit the proverbial match. He's putting fuel on this fire ever since he announced he was taking over the National Guard. An illegal act, an immoral act, an unconstitutional act, and we're going to test that theory with a lawsuit tomorrow.
So he's suing. He's suing that Donald Trump sent in help.
I mean, he's got time for that, right? To sort of play some political game, because of course all he really is thinking about is how this affects his presidential ambitions. I mean, it's so insulting and offensive to everyone in California, particularly in Los Angeles, to have this kind of, this sort of pantomime. These people are not serious. They're not serious about doing their job. And the first responsibility, if you're a leader, is to protect public safety and keep law and order. But they don't do that. I mean, by the way, this is a pattern with these people. So not that long ago, just a couple of weekends ago, you had an illegal house party in Los Angeles, got totally out of control on the roof of a building. Then you had hundreds of people marauding around a neighborhood, vandalizing property, setting cars on fire. Very similar scenes to what we've just seen. That was just a couple of weekends ago. What happened? The police did nothing. They just stood back. There was not a single arrest. This is a pattern with these people.
So I don't even know. This guy, Jim McConnell, admitted, though, that they needed help. Cut 15.
We are overwhelmed as far as the number of people out there engaged in this type of activity and the type of things that they're doing. They'll take backpacks, and the backpack will have a cinder block in it. They have a hammer, and they'll break up the cinder block and use that, pass it around to throw at officers, to throw at cars, and throw at other people. We've seen people with hammers, and you've broadcasted, breaking the bollards behind the federal building and taking the rocks, if you will, or pieces of concrete, and throwing them at officers. We've had liquid of who knows what description thrown at officers. There's no limit to what they're doing to our officers.
So he's admitting it. They can't handle it. So the National Guard, they got 300. They're going to get up to 2,000. And then Pete Hegseth over the weekend said, I got 500 Marines on standby.
Well, when you've got total failure to get on top of the situation locally, what else is the option? Just let it go on and on for days and days without limit? Of course not. And that's what we saw, of course, happen with the riots before in Los Angeles. And you've got to clamp down on it early to stop it getting out of hand. But now we are where we are. We've got to stop this. And so what else? What are the other options? I mean, they clearly can't handle it locally.
Right. And they're not going to get ahead of it. So it's going to be another fourth day. And I imagine if things as the sun begins to set, it'll get worse. Steve, lastly, when it comes to rebuilding Pacific Palisades and the surrounding area, I hear it's going incredibly slow. I hear the permitting process is awful. What could you tell us?
That's exactly right. I mean, people are so furious. I mean, this is just another blow to LA. And I've been speaking to people in the area. They literally cannot believe what's going on. And it's the combination of the local governments, the insurance companies. They can't do anything. Contractors won't take any action because they haven't got the permits. And this is from people. Karen Bass, do you remember she told President Trump to his face, oh, yeah, we're going to get it all done quickly. They just have no clue how to run things competently. All of them. It's just a total shambles. I mean, we can't, as I said, we can't go on like this. That's why I'm really confident now we're going to have change in California in 2026, and I will be the governor. And this won't happen when I'm the governor.
When's the election?
June 26th. Next year is the primary, about a year from now. General election in November.
Where do you see your role in the next few weeks? Let people know what you would be like if you were in charge. How do you see yourself
100%.
doing that?
That's exactly right. That's why I'll be in LA today and for the rest of the week. And it's both sides of the equation. Number one, standing with law enforcement officers who want to do their job and with people in the community who want to see order restored. And number two, with the legal immigrant community who don't want to see this complete diversion of resources, whether that's schools or housing or their tax dollars, to illegal immigrants who didn't do it the right way, compared to them and their families who waited patiently, who did it the right way, like me, a legal immigrant who's done it the right way. It's the legal immigrant community who are more furious about what's been going on with the open border than anyone else, and I'm going to be standing with them.
All right, Steve Hilton, best of luck. We'll look forward to talking to you throughout this. And let's hope day 4 is the last day, but I doubt it.
Yes.
And keep in mind, the last LA riots, 2 days. As bad as the Rodney King riots were, they were 2 days. We've already doubled that. Thanks so much, Steve.
Cheers, Brian. Thank you.